Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and today we are going to be doing the breakfast book tag. So I saw this on Breakeven Book's channel. I'll link his channel and the original creator down below. This looks like a really fun tag. Who doesn't love a good breakfast? So let's get started. The first prompt is coffee. A book that's hot but not scalding. I chose Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wynn. If you haven't read this book and you like historical fiction, please go read this now. So I picked this book because it is a slow burn if I've ever read one. Not in the romance sense, in the plot sense. This book follows an agent, Verity. During World War II, she is captured and is being tortured and forced to tell her secrets. And so at the beginning, and this is why it's a slow burn, you're just kind of following her account of the bases she was worked on, her life as a pilot. But yeah, that part starts out very slow because it's very reliant on the historical fiction part of it. Towards the middle, she starts talking more about her life and her friends. There is a great friendship in this book. The focus is on these two friends and their part in the British Air Force. By the end of the book, you are holding your breath to see who's going to survive. Did she really give away the secrets? How is her friendship going to survive all this? It's crazy. The reveals in this book, the end of this book is an emotional roller coaster and I cannot recommend it enough. The next prompt is Bagel. So this is a book that is so good you're willing to forget the plot holes. There are a lot of books you could probably choose for this. I myself tend to overlook plot holes 90% of the time. They don't really bother me unless they're just so blatant that they cannot be ignored. So for this, though, I chose The Mysterious Benedict Society, and this is by Trenton Lee Stewart. And it's about 4 kid geniuses who are all kind of picked up from different hard lifestyles, and they form the Mysterious Benedict Society. They are taken care of by Mr. Benedict himself, and they discover a plot put on by a guy who's using hypnosis and subliminal messaging. These books, if you haven't read them, are also amazing. They're pretty thick, but so worth it because the plot in this is just nonstop action, and yet somehow it is still an enjoyable, lovable kids book. And because they're geniuses, all of them in their own ways, by the way, very good characters. Because they're geniuses, there's all these different puzzles, and it's just a constant string of mysteries that are fun to try and figure out ahead of the characters. However, a lot of the time it does rely on the fact that they're just able to do anything as these 4 genius kids. So there are some times where I'm like, that was a bit of a stretch. Overall, though, totally worth reading. I'm listening to the second one now on audiobook, and it is just as good as the first. The third prompt is cereal, which is best consumed quickly. For this, I have The Prince and His Dressmaker by Jenna Wang. I talked about this book in my last video. It is one of my top books of the year. It is a beautiful graphic novel with just amazing artwork, and with all the books on this list, if you haven't read it, please do. It's amazing. It's gorgeous. It's easily read in one sitting, and I plan on sharing it with everybody. Then we have Toast, something that gets a little dark. For this, I chose Tomorrow When the War Began by John Marston. So this book follows a group of kids who live in Australia. They go on a camping trip, and when they come back from their secluded little area, they realize that their country has been invaded. And so basically they form a guerrilla war group. It gets very brutal very fast. Their tactics, their PTSD, their moral dilemmas are just very prominent throughout the series, and from the beginning you can tell that each character has their own way of dealing with what they're going through. Their intensity in trying to find their family, save their country, and maintain their sense of humanity is just so well written for a young adult novel, and I have reread this a few times, and I hope to reread it again soon because it's been a while. But I love the whole series. I think each book did an amazing job of keeping things interesting, and the intensity level never wavered for a second. So again, another great book to check out. Then we have Oatmeal, a book that keeps you nice and warm. So for that, I chose The Phantom Toll Booth by Norton Jester. In 4th grade, we were reading excerpts from different books, and this was one of them, and I immediately went to the library and picked it up and read it. I love the amount of puns. I love the vocabulary and the creativity that this has, and it's about a boy who goes to a different world, which is like what you dream of as a child who loves books. I will never stop loving this book. Then we have juice. Pick your favorite flavor and then pick a cover that matches that flavor. So my favorite kind of juice is apple juice. Pretty basic, but whatever. And it's not usually a bright red, but the book I chose has a bright red cover. And that is my beautiful edition of Bunnicula. It's this nice velvety cover. Bunnicula is another book that I read as a kid and just adored. It was weird and kooky. It's about 2 pets, a dog and a cat, and I don't remember their names because it's been so long since I've read this. You're reading the story through their eyes, and the family that they're with gets a new pet bunny, and they think the bunny may be a vampire. And so, yeah, just, again, a classic. Then we have Egg Tofu Scramble. There's many different ways to eat them as there are to live. So this is choosing a memoir, and I chose Toto-chan. So my brother got me this book. It follows the author, Tetsuko, who is eventually known as Toto-chan, and she talks about her education growing up, kind of a more out there discovery style of education, and how that influenced her when she became an educator herself. So brother got me this because he knows I'm always interested in reading about different styles and types of education, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think even if you aren't an educator, it's a good memoir to read. So, Toto-chan. Then you have Fancy Pastry, and this is a genre that you don't read often, but when you do, you enjoy them. And actually, that would be memoirs for me. I don't usually read biographies and memoirs, but usually when I do, I thoroughly enjoy them. I think part of that is because I only pick out ones that I'm really interested in. I don't just kind of cover by or go without really looking into it and doing research. Most of those are very specific choices, and because of that, I always tend to enjoy them. We have 2 more left. The next one is Mimosas, and this is books you're looking forward to because you're getting into brunch territory. I have a ton on this list, but I'm going to mention a few. None of these will be a surprise if you've watched any booktube channels at all, so I'm just going to list them off. A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Renegades by Marissa Meyer. She wrote the Lunar Chronicles. I love those. I also have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I haven't read any of her stuff, and so I would love to get into that. And, of course, Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire. So, these are the ones on my shelf that I've just recently bought that I'm most excited to, but I have a ton more. I could probably do a whole video on books I'm excited to get to, but I got a lot of the other ones on my TBR to get to first. So, the last one is Breakfast for Dinner, and this is just to talk about a book of your choice. So for this, I am talking about The Amulet of Samarkand by Jonathan Stroud. First one came out in 2003, and it follows a demon who is summoned by a magician who is just still a young boy, and his kind of sassy antics. The demon, Bartimaeus, in this is one of the sassiest characters you will ever have the luxury of meeting, and all 3 books, and even the prequel I just read recently, are really good and enjoyable. They do have footnotes, which can take a while to get used to, but I've enjoyed them. I would recommend, as per most of these, reading this series. That's my breakfast book tag. I'm not going to tag anybody, but if you want to do this one, it's really fun. There's a lot of good questions, so feel free to join in. Thank you so much for stopping by and getting to know me through my books a little bit more. I hope you have a good day. Bye.